How many of you have thought, I may not have been blessed with model good looks, millions of dollars in the bank account, or celebrity status? Sick and tired of sitting at home watching Netflix while other men are going out with the women you want? Wish you knew how to get a woman to start chasing you like you're the charming prince she's been dreaming about since she was a little girl? No kidding. You're one step away from seeing it for yourself. Today, we are going to teach you how to talk to women and spark attraction within seconds. What do you want us to make sure that we cover? Drop a comment in the chat. I want to know how to banter. I want to know how you learn how to do this. Okay, so cold approach banter, breaking the ice, banter to attract, how to not overuse it. That's good. Step-by-step process, how to naturally banter. Very good. Well, today I am presenting the ultimate banter masterclass, how to attract any woman in seconds, even if you're not her type, hosted by Kristen, Carney, and myself. This is a little bit about Kristen. Kristen is the go-to expert in the industry for online dating banter. She's a stand-up comedian, an overall great conversationalist and person who has helped hundreds of men who were failing miserably online, getting no responses, unmatched, ghosted, left unread, and got them to a place where they are consistently making women respond, laugh, flirt back, share intimate details, and most importantly, go on dates. Kristen has co-hosted the
Whoa.
You don't want to know about you?
No, not
Kristen has
interesting.
co-hosted the Ask Women podcast for just under a decade. That's insane. Interviewing some of the most renowned coaches and experts in the field of dating and self-help, as well as hundreds of singles. Her expertise has also been heard on Loveline, Sex with Emily, Playboy Radio, and numerous other leading shows in the industry. You can visit her website, kristenandchill.com, to learn more. Okay, so let's all welcome Kristen by dropping a 1 in the chat.
1 stands for number 1. Kristen's number 1. She's number 1. Let those ones fly. If anyone puts
I see a lot of 3s in the chat.
Yeah, if anyone puts a 2 or a 3, I'm going to be a little insulted.
Perfect.
You can't even go
all right, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, Marnie. And thank you, all you wonderful guys, for being here, for trusting us, specifically me, and investing in your growth. I know it's hard. Growing is hard. It's painful, but it's worth it. So this masterclass is going to be for you if you're just starting to date, if you're in a relationship, believe it or not, because this can help you in so many different facets of your life. Mm-hmm. If you want to know how every celebrity can charm people fast, like they have that something, that extra something. If you want to practice and sharpen your wit overnight, and that's kind of the key, is practice. I know there's bad news to that you do have to practice this, but you can sharpen it. It's also for you if you want to get a woman's attention without being a jerk. It's a need a way to prevent you from freezing up when you're talking to women. If you're not a veteran of comedy, which even some comedians aren't veterans of comedy, and then you want to know the secrets to making someone laugh. If you want to turn mundane conversations into something that's interesting and fun, mundane is like the trap that everyone gets stuck in. Mm-hmm. Even if you're a total beginner, this is for you. So a little bit about my first ever banter experience isn't really necessarily one specific moment, but a lifetime of banter. If you guys have read my banter guide, you probably saw me talk about my background growing up. My family, my dad's side specifically, all they did was banter. All they did was bust balls, bullshit, and go back and forth and be louder than the other one. These were the best times of my life. And little did I know that my brain was soaking in all of this exchange and all this back and forth and all of this chemistry, I think, because there was truly joy within this experience. So people get really afraid of banter because they're afraid to offend. But I want you to knock down that fear, because you can't actually enjoy banter if you're worried about people's feelings. What I want you to keep in mind is intent. If you have a good intent, then you're never going to hurt someone's feelings. If you have a bad intent going into it, you're like, I want to make this bitch feel bad, then you're probably going to make this bitch feel bad. Okay. But you have to kind of just lean on the fact that you're not a bad person. Maybe you are. And then if you are, then take a nice person masterclass and then come back and revisit the banter.
That's
stuff.
next month.
That's next month. But don't worry so much about offending. That's this honesty is where banter begins. So if you're not honest and you're tiptoeing around, you're never going to get where you want to be in banter. So some questions that people asked before we did this class was, what are some examples of banter? How do I kick off banter? How do I eliminate my fear of bantering with women? How to get into the state of mind where bantering becomes easy, natural, and fun? How you can banter when there's actually really serious shit going on in your life. And I'm case in point, my mom just passed away. So there's some really serious shit going on in my life, but I can still banter. And bantering actually makes it more comfortable for other people who are interacting with me who don't know how to talk to me when they just find out my mom is gone. So if there's serious stuff going on, it doesn't mean not to have fun.
Good point.
All right. How to learn, how do you learn to be more witty and make associations faster? We're going to talk about that. People have asked, how do I banter without sounding like an idiot? Now with this one, we're going to address all these, but just to say real quickly, chances are at one point or another, you will sound like an idiot. You have to break through that barrier. So you have to go through your idiot phase to get to your master phase. So don't think that you're going to be perfect out of the gate. If you are perfect out of the gate, it's kind of bizarre. Like there's not actual growth happening. They've asked how to banter so that it comes off sexy and not offensive or creepy. What do I say if I'm with someone really attractive and I find myself with nothing to say? And how do I know when to stop bantering? Which is very, very key, because if you think you have to be joke constantly, you're going to be a huge turnoff, even if you're really funny. So you have to really know when to stop, which leads me to how to gracefully back out when you realize she's not interested. And where do I find women to banter with in the first place? Also, how to only banter properly with women I do find attractive. How to only banter properly with women I do find attractive. You don't only want to banter with people you find attractive. You want to banter with everybody. So these are things that we're gonna get to. So if you've asked one of those questions, you guys are in the right place, especially if your chair is comfortable. It's a really good place to be. So do you guys want to know a secret?
Yes.
Thank you, Marnie. So without banter, flirting is difficult or pretty much impossible. So banter is the adult version of pulling pigtails. Only we're not just pulling pigtails, we're actually engaging and getting to know somebody. But this is how adults flirt. Without banter, really, there is no flirting. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover how to talk to women to spark attraction within seconds, even if you're not her type. The 3 biggest banter killers, and I'm pretty sure you're making them. Everyone makes them, and don't feel embarrassed if you are making them, or don't go, oh my God, that's me, because everyone does it. The 4 essential banter mindsets that will help you get out of your own way, because a lot of the time you're your own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. The 4 key secret banter ingredients you must include to create irresistible attraction. 5, a surprise gift that I'll be revealing at the end of this masterclass, which is worth $4,000. I feel like I should be on a game show.
I know. I felt like I was on The Price is Right for a second.
That's good. As long as it's not Wheel of Fortune. Can't stand Wheel of Fortune.
No, definitely not Wheel of Fortune.
No.
Price is Right.
I don't know who those people are. Okay. So first of all, what is banter? I think there's a lot of banter misconceptions. So banter, this is the dictionary definition of banter, is talk or exchange of remarks in a good-humored, teasing way. But I personally think that there's some stuff missing from that definition, because banter sets the groundwork for deeper conversation. When you hear the word banter, you think throwaway, like, oh, it's just meaningless conversation. It's not, because if you can't get through the barrier of banter, then you can never get to that point where you're going to go deeper with someone. And getting deeper is where women are going to get feeling safer. And when you feel safe as a woman, you feel attracted. And it also means being fun and playful to converse with. It's not having to be funny 100% of the time. A lot of the guys that I work with, we do back and forth exchanges. So I role play as a girl that they're bantering with. And I see so many of the times guys thinking, okay, I just said something funny. Now I have to raise that. Now I have to be even funnier. Now I've got to match that and do better. And that's not at all what you want. So when we talk about banter, you want to picture it as a heart monitor of a living person. So you want there to be ups and downs. When I say ups, I mean funny, playful moments. And when I say downs, I don't mean downer moments. I mean moments that are anchoring you to her. So moments that are more authentic. So if your banter is just all one straight high line, you're going to annoy the shit out of her. She's going to be like, all right, dude, I get it. You're funny. What else you got? But then if your banter's all one low, not non-heartbeat, she's going to be bored out of her living mind. So it's got to be this up, down, up, down. So even when we go to a down, when we get more serious, guys tend to go, oh my God, it's serious. Now I have to be really delicate and I have to, be like her therapist. No, you shoot back up to the high point and you add in something funny and something playful. And that's what banter should feel like. Why do women find banter attractive? It's intelligence. Whenever you talk to women, they always say, whenever you ask a woman what they want in a guy, their number one desire is a guy with a great sense of humor. Without fail, it's always a guy with a great sense of humor. And then it sucks for guys who are like, well, I don't have a great sense of humor. The good news is you can learn. I'm not teaching you how to be a comedian. I'm teaching you how to be clever and humorous within conversation and also dynamic. So they want a guy with a great sense of humor, but they also want a guy that they can connect with. Women want to laugh because laughing means they're having fun. So like, unless you're a masochist, and Marnie may be because she works with me, but unless you're a masochist, you want to be laughing because laughing means she's having fun. And if she's having fun, that means she's going to let her guard down and she's going to allow herself the opportunity to feel attracted to someone. I can't think of a time in my dating experience, I don't know if Marnie can, to think of a time when she was really attracted to someone that she couldn't have fun with. Have you ever experienced that, Marnie?
Not for a prolonged period of time. Like,
right.
There's been people who I've been attracted to, but as soon as it stops, I see that there's no fun there, the attraction also dies down and stops.
So we'll start with like a mystery. Like there's that element of mystery. So we can be attracted to someone who we don't really know and we know them from afar and they're mysterious and we're like, ooh, that's attractive. I'm attracted to him. But then once you actually get in the presence of that person, if you're not allowed to actually just have fun, the attraction is going to go away. The mystery is going to dissolve and the attraction is going to be non-existent. So basic banter examples. So Marnie and
I do want to add in one thing.
Yeah.
The banter itself doesn't have to be funny. The banter is the back and forth exchange as well. So it's just being quick to respond as well. So right?
It's being quick to respond with something that no one else would respond with.
Right.
Something clever.
Like
something
even if you're in seduction mode, it doesn't necessarily mean to be funny, but it's just being able to respond back quick enough.
Yeah.
And not being put on the spot and flailing.
Exactly. And we've talked about this on the podcast several times about the primal brain. So when you're responding with something that is clever or witty, it's going to ding something off in her brain. Oh, this, most guys wouldn't have said that. When I told them I was, going to go to the gym, they were just like, okay, have a good workout. Instead, you say something clever there instead of being just the boring mundane.
Right.
So we're just going to touch on some basic banter examples and Marnie and I will read them back and forth. We're going to do a little role play.
Oh God, we're role playing. Okay.
So this specifically would be in text. So this doesn't work spoken. This is through text only. So thanks, Marnie.
It's Marnie.
So that should be spelled with Y. So we missed that in this, but that should be Marny. So I said, thanks, Marnie. Marny. So we missed a big thing on the slide. But Marnie says, it's Marnie. And then I simply say, whoops, sorry, my bad. And
it's in my profile.
And then I say, I guess I can't read. And this slide's a little messed up.
Right.
And then Marnie just says, oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
So it's this really non-playful thing that could have been taken elsewhere. So a conversation with banter through text that's more fun. Thanks, Chris. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Marnie.
Thanks, Kristen.
And okay, so we totally messed the slide up. I'm taking ownership, but this should have been spelled wrong.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So
my name should have been spelled
let's
wrong.
pretend one of them has a Y in it, and then you're correcting. It's Kristen. Gotcha.
And I say, you spell it Kristin. So you'd say, thanks, Kristen. And then I would say, this is to add playfulness. I would say, who's Kristen? Are you cheating on me already? Because that's not the way you spell my name. So right. I'm looking for opportunities to play and to tease. So I'm going to get to teasing, but when it comes to teasing, guys are always afraid to offend. You don't need to tease about things that are offensive. For example, right here, if my name was spelled wrong, which it should have been spelled wrong, and it says, thanks, Kristin, and I say, who's Kristin? I'm teasing, but I'm not offending. There's a choice of topic to which you can tease to. So this is simple teasing where it doesn't have to be this extreme thing. It can be subtly slipped in. And then,
whoops, Kristen.
Then I say, thanks, Marnie.
Wait, who's Kristen? Are you cheating on me already?
All right, this slide is all messed up.
Okay, but everybody's getting the point. That Kristen is a moron. That's the point that we're trying to get.
Yes.
And exactly. Yeah. See, that's not hurtful teasing. That is teasing and being playful.
And I'm going to take it because I deserve that. I'm like, all right. But see at the end where I say, no, I'm not cheating unless you're a math test. So this is a really small example of making word associations, which we're going to get to, but it's all about making word associations and correlations to be able to have funny, witty, clever comebacks.
So Glenn asked a good question. So what do you do if she does not get the joke and feels offended? Like, let's say she's like, wait, what are you, I'm not cheating on you. Like, what do you do at that point?
So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to double down on the joke. The worst thing that you can do when a joke doesn't hit is to run away like you're leaving the scene of a crime. When you run away and leave the scene of the crime, what you're basically saying is, oh my God, you're right, that wasn't funny, and I'm really uncomfortable. Let's pretend this never happened. Yeah. Whereas if you keep going with it and you do more, so let's say in this example, you do more misspellings, you'd add an emoji, you double down, you keep doing what you're doing. And if she doesn't get it at that point, then you can kind of say something along the lines of, like you haven't been taking comedy classes, I see, with a little wink, something like that. And then you can move forward. But you always want to double down first before you decide to move forward. When you just jump away, any upper hand that you had in conversation is gone. And that's how you end up in the friend zone, is like placating to what she understands and being at her level. You want to bridge your worlds together with banter. And so it's almost like you're an island and she's an island. You can't become one island yet. You've got to build a bridge between those two islands. So you stay remaining who you are, and you just try to pull her in a little bit so that she can cross the bridge to come.
And also to add on to what Kristen was saying, the "are you cheating on me already" is an example that she's giving. If that's not in a line with your humor, you don't use that line, but you have to use something that does or that is in sync with who you are. And even somebody said it in the chat box. Basically, if she's not getting you in this banter, then that could be a sign that this isn't a match for you, that she's too serious. She's not playful enough. She's not fun enough to hang with you. So you can also take that step back and say, do I really want to continue pushing with this girl? She may not be my cup of tea.
Right. So what I call that is like the lawnmower effect. So remember in the back in the day, you had to pull the lawnmower to get it started. So you go vroom, vroom with the starter, whatever that is, to get the engine going. You can only pull so many times before you go, okay, the lawnmower just doesn't
It's
work.
dead.
It's dead. So then you just bring it to the shop or you get a brand new one. You stop focusing on that lawnmower in that moment and you move on. But it is okay to pull the string a few times. I sound like such a girl because I don't really know what it's called. Pull the whatever.
Yeah.
You pull the thingy. You pull the
That's what I
thingy a
would
few
call it too. Pull
times.
the thingy. You're
Pull the
right. You're
thingy.
absolutely right. You try it a few times, doesn't work, you move on. Cord.
Then you
Thank
move
you,
on.
Richard.
Yep. Okay. So hopefully the next one isn't screwed up. Um, so so we all know you're here because bantering is a skill not everyone has, and everyone's not fortunate enough to have it. But it's also the same way that I'm not fortunate enough to be great at math. I could probably learn math. I think I'm giving myself too much credit. I'm really bad at math. I don't think I could learn math. But people's brains are programmed for certain things. Your brain may not be programmed to see correlations and word associations and connections, but you can learn how to do those things. And luckily for you guys, it is not physics, it's not math. And you do need this skill if you want to be where you desire socially, whether it's dating or whether it's with work. And so again, like I said at the beginning, practice. It's kind of bad news because you do need to practice, but if you do, you can get better at it. I've seen in my sessions, people who they all they know how to say is how are you? And all of a sudden they've wowed me with a line where I save it and use it in my next session because they've picked it up. So you guys can pick it up. Now, do you want me to teach you how to do this? I think this is a self-answered question because I think that's why you're all here. And as I mentioned before, are you guys willing to actually practice? Because this does require the time and effort, but once you put it in, you're going to start seeing huge changes. So are you guys willing?
Perfect. Yes, there's a lot of ones.
Okay.
And maybe they could practice with you as well.
If they want to, I'm always around and I'm a great teacher, even though that slide was messed up.
Nick said
really
0.999.
Okay. So it's smart to know the 3 biggest banter killers. Most likely you are doing them if you're finding yourself falling flat in conversation. So banter killer number 1 is the being generic. Hi, how are you? It's the hi, how are yous. It's the what do you do for a living? It's the did you have a good weekend? When we're talking about dating online, you have to keep in mind there are thousands of men reaching for the same women saying this exact thing. You have to put yourself in her shoes. Why on earth, if you have an average profile and then you say, hi, how are you? Why? You have to get into her head. Why on earth would she respond to that? She's had that from hundreds of guys so far. So you need to be able to stand out. Being generic is just like you're digging your own grave. All right. So banter killer number 2 is a conversation that highlights that she doesn't know you. So what this means, and I mentioned it really quickly on one of the beginning slides about how celebrities seem to just be able to convert, like own the room or talk with anyone. Obviously they're celebrities and they've done things to get to that point where they're recognized. But what you'll notice is that celebrities, this is a key thing. Celebrities and people that are great socially start conversations with people as if they already know them.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it starting mid-conversation. So when you have highlights of being a stranger, they're things like, hi, I'm Kristen. Where are you from? What do you do for a living? These are all reminders that you do not know her and that she does not know you. You want her to feel like she has known you for 20 years. So when you ask these generic questions that strangers ask each other, it's going to feel like a job interview and it's going to remind her that you're a stranger and she's going to put up the walls even though that's part of the process of meeting someone. She knows that going into it. Meeting someone means that I don't know this person. However, if you can pull down those walls slightly, that's an advantage that you're going to have over other men. So when it comes to getting information about women, instead of asking questions, because again, those questions are reminders that you don't know her, like, what do you do for a living? What's your favorite food? What you want to do instead, this is really important, is you want to give information to get information.
Mm-hmm.
So giving information is something like you throwing out what you do for a living and adding color to it, saying something like, oh my God, if I see another kid, I'm going to, kill me if I see another kid. I work at a day camp. I'm so tired. Most likely she's going to reply with, oh my God, I love kids, or oh my God, how do you work with kids? I hate kids. So what you're going to do is you're going to get information from her without asking her a question. So you want to limit questions. Now you can work your way to get information that you want. So, eventually you can get there where you're angling it to where she's going to give you information about what she does for work. But you want to avoid those initial, I don't know you questions. That's huge.
It's a good spin on OSA, and I like that, so that it eliminates the question completely. It just triggers somebody to respond.
Exactly. Now, banter killer number 3, making conversation that feels like a job interview. So as I mentioned with the questions, when you're exchanging information that's yes and no answer type of scenario, you're going to kill the buzz that you can get from banter. You're going to basically make her feel like this is formal. I need to act formal. I can't be myself. And I feel like I'm just interviewing for a job. So avoiding asking those questions are so important. Also, formalities. This can apply to in person. This can apply more to in person, but you want to make sure your body language is not professional body language. You don't want to be sitting up straight at the table on a date with her. You want more of a relaxed, like you're the boss. Because if you think about when you are at a job interview, if the boss is sitting like this, the person being interviewed is always like this. You don't want to be the person being interviewed. You're giving away your power.
Yeah.
And job interviews are boring. So so far, those were the banter killers. I'm curious what your biggest takeaways are so far. And
For mine, it was a reminder to talk as if you already know somebody. That was something I used to say a long time ago. And we always say that on our podcast, but definitely reinforcing, like, you jump into conversation as if you're 5 minutes into a conversation. You don't have to be best friends with them, but talk as if you know them. So they said, relax and be yourself. Open and comfortable body language is key. Give information to get information. Need to make statement for online dating message. Don't act like an interviewer. Yeah, these are all great things. Will you give more examples of that? Talking like you know them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So talking like you know somebody is so let's say you're in line. Let's pretend you're in line and you're at a convenience store and someone's getting the lotto and they're taking forever. You just lean over to the person behind you or the person next to you and say something like, all right, if he wins, then he owes us at least $100 a piece. So you don't have any sort of, hi, how's it going standing in line? Yeah, it's kind of long, right? You just go in with your thought, with your opinion, with your observation, which we're going to get to. Your opinions and observations are basically the foundation of banter. So you have,
and then afterwards you can say, oh, hey, my name's Kristen, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So when you start like that, it makes the person, I want you guys to actually try it because it's almost exciting because you get instant results when you talk to someone like you already know them. So personal story, when I started doing comedy, there was this girl who was also doing comedy and she had just started about 6 months before me. We were totally brand new, both not funny, me slightly funnier. She's doing better in life though. But we won't go into it. So she would be in with all these comedians and I'm like, what on earth? And I would be back in the corner and I started to notice she talked to every single person as if they had already met and that they were on the same level. Even though she had been doing comedy for 6 months, these people had been doing comedy for 5 years. She was at the exact same level and they just went with it. So it's almost like this experiment. When you walk up to somebody and you just start talking to them like you know them, they go with it. It's a weird thing. It's almost like you grabbed somebody and you threw them in the passenger seat of your car and just took off. And all of a sudden they're like, all right, I guess I'm going on a ride.
Right.
So give it a try, because you actually will see the people's taken abackness, and they're taken aback in a good way. They're surprised, so they go with it. All right. So before we can get into having, these observations and all that kind of stuff, we need to know these banter mindsets. So essential banter mindset number 1 is bad banter won't kill you unless you're bantering with a man with a knife and a gun. So
stop joking around.
That wasn't funny. Like you killed so much, you literally got killed. I don't know.
Right.
So I want to eliminate the fear of banter. If you try and you attempt and you fail, that's good. Like you tried, you got that icky stuff out of the way. Now you can move on to the next person that you want to try to banter with, but it won't kill you. So start doing it. It's not as scary as you think.
And Kevin said, I'm the king of banter on construction sites, well known all over Western Australia, but never knew it would work with women. Never wanted to offend.
Get over the offending part, because when women say they want a bad boy, what they mean is they don't want a guy who's actually murdering people. They want a guy who's willing to offend, who's willing to bust their balls, who's willing to stand up to that shit test that they give them. So if you're worried about offending, you're not going to get anywhere with women. If you pretend you're on a construction site and that all the women on the dating sites are your construction buddies, you're going to start getting dates so much faster. Or even if you couldn't get them at all, you're going to start getting them now, because this is how women like to be talked to. Believe me, it's surprising. Some will be bitches, but it's a shit test. Keep going with it. Keep sticking to your banter. So banter mindset number 2, trust in the fact that you have everything that you need to banter. I just need to help you access it, and you need to help yourself access it. So it's all in there. All of these words, all of these associations, all of the cleverness, it's in there. It's just, how do you grab it? So when you think of a joke and a comedian telling this joke, people laugh because that joke is relatable. So that's already been in your head. Like what he said is stuff that's already existed. It's just that comedian went out and grabbed it and presented it. Whereas you're leaving it sitting in your brain and in your body. So you have all this stuff. You just need to start getting comfortable accessing it, which is your gut. You need to be really in touch with your first guttural, natural reaction to something, because that is where honesty is, and that's where humor is, and that's where banter is.
I love that.
So mindset number 3, remember that anything new is going to feel uncomfortable at first. So if you think you're going to approach someone on the street as a pro, you're not going to. So get that out of your head. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel like the first time Marnie and I had to start wearing a bra. We're like, oh, what is this thing? This is uncomfortable. But eventually you forget that it's there, especially when you don't have any boobs to hold up like mine. So
I'm not wearing one right now. So,
so Marnie's boobs are on the floor at the moment.
Right.
So just get comfortable with that idea that it's going to suck at the beginning. Now, what I recommend to my clients, people that I work with, is starting to banter online before you banter in person, because I get a lot of guys who want to just banter in person, which is great. I want you to banter in person as well. But if you start doing it online first, if you make like a dummy Tinder account, just like I call Tinder kind of like the Walmart of dating apps, because it's basically
anybody can get in, and
anyone can get in. Yeah. It's full of junk.
Yeah.
Easily replaceable. So you're not going to be practicing on women that may be your dream girls. There are people that are like, okay, well, if we hit it off, we hit it off. If not, I'm not worried about it. So Tinder is also like going to the gym. So you're doing your reps, your banter reps on Tinder on people you don't really care about, so that once you get on to Hinge or Match.com or one of the sites that have a little bit more quality options, you've already done all your reps at the gym on Tinder. So now you're ready to go for either the Better app or for in person. And
Or even
also,
if Walmart is like the cream of the crop for you, find something that is similar to what Kristen's saying, where there would be people there that you have a low investment in.
low investment. The other thing is Banter. You have to learn almost like you would learn math. So you have to do things by hand first before you can start doing these things in your head live in person. So when you're doing stuff through text, that may not be your goal to banter through text, but when you're learning that way, you're giving yourself time to go, okay, she said XYZ. Now, what's a couple word associations I can make with that? So I'm going to leave my phone, or I'm going to leave my app. I'm going to go over to the notes app on my phone, and I'm going to type out a bunch of word associations. Then I'm going to see if any of these word associations added with my opinion can make a funny line. So you're giving yourself time to actually work things out, so that when you want to eventually start bantering in person, you've already been doing these reps in your head or by text.
That's great.
Okay, so essential banter mindset. Number 4, you are unique and your conversation will reflect that. So I said, don't be generic. That's super important to not be generic, but don't feel pressure to try to be unique and to try to be different, because you are different. So you have different things to offer than the other guy. So if Australia guy who works on construction site is having a banter conversation, it's going to be completely different than the guy who works on Wall Street and does finance all day long. So you're inherently going to have unique banter based on just who you are, as long as you're willing to access your gut and your honest thoughts. Okay, so what's been your biggest takeaway so far?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, all of it. I think that those were amazing things to acknowledge. Oh my God, I just forgot the biggest one that you just said like a minute ago. See, I have like the memory of a goldfish. It's horrible. But you said some like really profound things that make complete sense. I like that tool that you said, that you have more time over text and over messaging, where you can go to your notepad and just write down associations. And I also like that you said how unique everybody is. I think everybody tries to be unique, but like somebody else, instead of just realizing what's unique about them. Because every single person who's on this call, including the two of us, we have things that are unique to us, our opinions, our thoughts, our values, whatever it is. We just have to access them. So I love that you said about accessing your gut. So there's a beast inside, just unleash it. It is good to know the banter mindset. Converse as if you already know the person. Be bold and banter like no one is listening.
Yeah, that's
bad
really
banter
great way
will
to say
not
it.
kill you. That's huge. That is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Be unique in myself. I like practice online. I like that too. That was a really good one. But here's one more thing. And even don't even focus on practicing with people you're attracted to. If you just practice on, like the grocery store clerk, the person at the Starbucks counter, your bank teller, you can practice at all of these locations continuously. It's not only for people that you're attracted to.
No. And if you just start with people that you're attracted to, you're going to have like a one-track banter ability. You're not going to be versatile. You're going to be only focused on, how do I be attractive to women in my banter? So it's going to make you feel
like compartmentalized.
And say exactly. And let's pretend you go out to dinner, you get a date and you actually go out to dinner. Now the waiter comes up. You only know how to banter with the woman you're attracted to. So you have no social skills for the waiter. Right. So you want to practice with everybody, because then you can show off those skills once you're actually in person with a woman.
There's one question here, which I want to know your answer. Is there an age limit? Do you have to tone it down as you get older?
No, I think you could tone it up as you get older.
That's what I was going to say too. But then I find that sometimes older guys, but it actually is in line with what you were saying at the beginning. You can't go boom, 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 boom. Like banter, 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 banter. You still have to follow that flow that Kristen was talking about. Because I do find older men tend to over banter.
They do, because I think they're trying to make up for something.
Yeah.
But I understand their desire to make up for that like lack of age thing.
Yeah.
So there is a sense of showing off, but I think you have less to lose. I mean, I don't think you have anything to lose as a man bantering, but the older you are, basically the more you can get away with, I
Oh
believe.
yeah.
And if it were a guy coming up to me and it was an older man, it'd be like, all right, I'm not going to take it super seriously because I don't think I would date a 60-year-old. So I'm going to have fun with this.
Mhm.
So as a woman, I'm more open to it. I get more uncomfortable if a guy my age starts to banter with me because I'm like, oh my God, there's pressure. Now we have to like
Yeah.
make babies. Whereas
Yeah.
the other guy can't make babies. So it's like,
He can make babies.
he can, I can't anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
actually, so yeah. Crank it up, but don't be obnoxious.
Mhm.
And the thing is with older men too, is I think they end up go cheesy. They end up going cheesy.
Yes, you're right. It is cheesy. It's like the easy joke, the dad joke.
Yeah. So avoiding cheesiness when you're any age, but also older, are things like using cliches like,
Yeah.
oh, so you took off your French maid costume today and put on, you're not like using these women, these 1950s kind of cliches toward women. I feel like
Right.
older men do that stuff. It comes across really cheesy. So
Yeah.
avoid that kind
I
of
know
stuff.
exactly what you're talking about. And mixed with like a wink and a smile. It does not land
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So it won't land well. You'll be thinking you're doing well because she'll fake laugh, but
Mhm.
it won't get you where you want to go.
Mhm.
So, all right. Okay. So now we're going to get to this banter blueprint, which is basically what the tools that you need to be able to do all these things that we've been talking about. So these are the secret banter ingredients that it's like if you make a dish and it's a chicken dish, you can't leave out the chicken because then it's not a chicken dish. So basically, you need all of these ingredients to be able to make banter work. So, as I said earlier, most men will start with things like, hey, how's your week? Or how do you like journalism or your job? So, by using openers similar to this, you're going to blend in using the process that we're going to talk about. You're going to stand out from the crowd. And that's your goal, is to stand out. You guys have, it's like, I hate to say it, but it's like, you know how men at a wedding all look the same in the same tuxedo?
Mhm.
It's kind of how that is, except not as well dressed on dating apps, where it's just like every guy is the
They
same.
all blend
Every guy
together.
looks
It's true.
all blend together. So, not that you want to be Jim Carrey in the yellow tuxedo, necessarily, but you need to stand
You need
out.
a red bow tie. You need
You,
like a
you
little
do.
pink flower or something.
Yeah, you need an accent, some sort of accent to make her go, huh, I've never heard that before. Maybe he's worth responding to. So, secret banter ingredient number 1, opinions. You cannot have banter without opinions. It's essentially impossible. So here's a quick little example that I hope is not screwed up. So let's pretend I say to someone, what's your beverage of choice? And then Marnie says,
I actually love whiskey. True
and
statement.
then so then I just say, cool, no opinion. I have no opinion on whiskey. So then
What's
Marnie's
your go-to
forced.
drink?
And then I say, I don't know. I've just kind of been drinking beer.
What's your favorite beer?
I don't really have one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
That's
just,
exactly. I have had many conversations like this where it's like, okay, I'm out.
yeah, it's like, all righty.
Yeah.
And scene. It's just flat, it's boring, it's blah. It's not going to do anything to build any sort of sexual tension. Unless you grab this by the balls and you just start pulling, like, what do you mean you don't really have one? Like, give me your favorite beer. Unless you're going to be really forceful, there's no way that that can end up being fun and playful, just like that. So you go to that awkward silence. Now here's the same exchange, but with opinions. So I say, what's your drink of choice?
I actually love whiskey.
And I say, oh my God, I hate whiskey. I used to love it. And then until I got so sick off it a couple years ago, now I can't even smell it without having flashbacks. It's like I have whiskey PTSD.
What happened?
And I say, oh, this is more of a third date story.
Tell me, please.
Are you sure you want to hear it? Because I wanted you to stay for at least one drink. I don't want to scare you away with my story. So just by adding your opinion, you opened up a whole world of conversation, because now I can take her to the story of what happened. This is how you're going to have an exchange that doesn't feel like an everyday, mundane, boring exchange.
Mm-hmm. But also,
And
do you
then,
see that Kristen disagreed with me? She said, I hate whiskey. She didn't please me and say, oh my God, I love whiskey. And you can say, I love whiskey if you really do. You don't have to have the,
yeah,
opposite response. But it still played out well. I liked her still, even though she didn't like my drink of choice, because she made it engaging and interesting without insulting me.
absolutely. And what I want to point out here, and we're going to get to the associations shortly, but I do want you to I want everyone to notice whiskey PTSD. So I'm associating whiskey with war or with,
Right.
with what a soldier
A
maybe.
trauma. It was a trauma for you.
Exactly. So I'm making an association there. Then I self-deprecate. I say, are you sure you want to hear it? I wanted you to stay for at least one drink.
Mhm.
So using self-deprecation is not going to be something that you want to do all the time, but it's something that you want to do some of the time, because when you start getting good at banter, you're going to start being a little bit not arrogant, but it's going to take you away. You're going to float away with how good you are. So once you start getting skilled, you want to knock yourself down a peg or two occasionally, every now and then, so that you can stay on the same level. So you're not just running away with all this clever banter and you're not a human anymore because you're Mr. Banter King, So
Mhm.
self-deprecation in small doses will keep you connected.
One person asked, "Does the
Um,
story have to be true?" I would say yes.
yes,
You
yes.
have enough in you for it to be true. Whether I've never had whiskey before is your answer. I've had whiskey once. I drink whiskey all the time. I feel like it has to be a true story because it's a representation of you.
Absolutely. If it's not true, and then I found that out, if you're on a date with a woman and all of a sudden I found out that that story you said wasn't true, I would be like, this guy's a psychopath. I'm not going to go out
Yeah,
with him again.
yeah,
So make
exactly.
sure it's true. Not everything has to be true in terms of just jokes. Like you can make a silly joke. Like I don't literally have whiskey PTSD.
Right.
That's not actually true, but I'm exaggerating for the sake of playfulness. So be willing to be able to exaggerate in moments that you need it, but don't lie and make it clear that it's a playful exaggeration, not a creepy, weird lie that you're just like a weirdo who lies. Okay.
Right.
So how do you form an opinion? When I work with guys and we work on banter, we do this little opinion exercise. Most people are programmed, because we live in society, to be polite, to maybe give the answer that they think they should give. So if I ask you what your opinion on bowling is, if you fucking love bowling, own that. Own it.
I love
If you
bowling.
And I know you do, and I actually said that to Adam when we were putting this together. I was like, Marnie would have a lot to say on bowling because
I
that
love
was her
it.
first
I
date.
absolutely love it. It was one of my first dates with my husband. Love it.
Right. And like I, would rather
Die. Right.
do this than bowl. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. This is fun. I'm having a great time. So if you hate bowling, own it. If you're kind of like meh on bowling, if you're going to not have a big opinion, crank up the volume on having no opinion, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be meh about anything. So if I were to ask you what you thought about bowling and you responded to me in a session, they were working together, and you responded by saying like, well, oh, it's okay. Like I'll go bowling if someone's going to go. Usually they'll say that and I'll say, okay, now what's your actual opinion on bowling? And
Mm-hmm.
they'll be like, I hate it. So people are always filtering. So you want to go past your first filter of what you think about something and go to what you really think about something. And that's going to be in your gut. That's going to be your first initial guttural response. One time I was working with a guy, we were coming up with a response for a girl who said her favorite thing to do on Sundays was drink coffee and read the newspaper. And he was like, yeah, drinking the coffee and reading the newspaper is nice. It's like nice, relaxing. And I'm like, yeah, but what do you really think about that? What does it say to you? What did you judge? Like, what was your judgment? And I don't want you to run away from being judgmental. Go toward being judgmental. So he said, well, it seems like something that my grandpa would do. And it was like, that's it. Boom. Thank you. That was
That's
your
your opinion.
first. initial opinion. That was your guttural response. So you want to tap into those guttural response and use those two T's. So you'd say something like, I didn't know my grandpa was on this dating app, something to that extent. So you could add an emoji if you wanted to. When
Am I
it
talking
comes
Betty White? These are all, yeah.
right, exactly. So what Marnie just did was made an association. Old person, Betty White. That's an association. So we're going to get to associations, but you have to start with an opinion. You have to start from a place of judgment in a way. So don't not listen to that gut. So we're going to talk about McDonald's. I know I just did a little example with bowling. So what's really important to note when it comes to opinions is that you don't want to just state an opinion, because then you're going to become a drag. You're going to be like a guy who's just always like, I don't like bowling. I don't like McDonald's. I don't like this. You want to form an opinion and then imply it to create banter. So I don't know if I have an example up here. Okay. So I don't know if I get to the example. So I'll say it first. It may come, I can't remember. But let's pretend that your opinion is that McDonald's is poison. I don't know if I come to this in the next slide or in the next couple slides, but
that's okay. It'll be wonderful the second time around too.
That's true. So if you think McDonald's is poison, you're going to do a quick brain scan. What do I associate with poison? These are word associations that are going to feed your banter, your opinion. So instead of just saying McDonald's is poison, you're going to make these word associations. So you're going to scan your brain and you're going to say, okay,
Snakes.
poison. I think of skull and crossbones. I think of death. I think of hazmat suits. So if the girl's like, I'm going to go get McDonald's, you'd say something like, well, make sure you bring your hazmat suit.
Yeah, I'll grab my hazmat suit. Yeah, that's funny.
So what you're doing is you're implying your opinion. You're not stating it. You're not saying, oh, McDonald's is bad for you. It's poison. You shouldn't eat McDonald's. You're implying that McDonald's is bad for you and that you shouldn't eat it and that it's poison in a playful way that's going to make her feel like flirting is beginning. So why are opinions important? Because by not forming your own...
I'm going to add one thing. One's an insult and the other one is a tease. That's what those differences are. Because
exactly.
I don't like McDonald's. It's poison. It's like a direct insult towards you because you're saying I'm going there. But the hazmat suit is kind of like, okay, you're kind of teasing, but I get where you're coming from.
Right. You're being cheeky. I'm not telling you what to do. You can go get your McDonald's, but here's my stance on it. And then we can spar a little bit about it. So then she can maybe throw back in your face that you just had a Diet Coke earlier. Where was his hazmat suit then? So then you've got a little bit of this back and forth going.
And again, what if she doesn't get it? If she's like, why? Why would you want a hazmat suit?
You double down on it. You say, because you're gonna melt if you walk in there without any protection. Have you ever read about McDonald's? So you kind of just you double down.
Do you not know what's in the food? Yeah, right. Exactly. Like you got to ride the wave. If you made the banter once, you got to make it the second time. You have to hold. You
have to commit. Never back down. I mean, back down eventually if you're just starting to be annoying. But give yourself 2 tries, committing. And then you can start to change slightly. But again, as Marnie said earlier, if it continues that way and you want to have fun and you want to banter and you want to tease and she doesn't, she may just be kind of a boring person. You may not be into her anymore. She may not be someone you want to date.
Yeah, but if you're like, you know what, I hate this banter crap and you're serious, I actually agree with you. You can say that and be like, listen, I'm just trying some banter out on you, but I agree with you.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So by not forming your own thoughts, you're not going to hold her interest and you're going to lose her anyway. So if you just bow down to everything that she says, eventually it's not going to pay off. Eventually it's going to bite you in the ass. Without opinions, you'll have no perspective, and you need perspective in order to have something to banter about in the first place. Oops, next one. Okay. So what are your guys' opinions on McDonald's? I want to know if
disgusting.
They've got any fun.
Horrible.
I love McDonald's. I love McDonald's.
You do.
I would eat McDonald's day in and day out.
I thought that I felt the same way. I just got McDonald's 2 weeks ago coming home from Mammoth and I had a headache. I haven't had it in 11 years. I had a horrible headache. My husband got three cheeseburgers and I had like a large fries. We both had headaches for like the last 2 hours of our ride home.
Yeah,
So
it's because your bodies
that's my
aren't,
opinion.
yeah, your
I know our
bodies,
stomachs are not trained for it. We've been eating fresh foods and clean products for a while. I love their coffee. That's about it. Love it, but not all the time. Not something I would eat every day, but works in a pinch. It's what I do when I cheat on myself. Getting bailed out by fries. I can't eat at McDonald's because I'm allergic to antibiotics. Bad for your heart attack waiting to happen. Does great fries. Okay, perfect.
okay. So in that someone said something about heart attack.
Mhm.
So when you get more specific in your opinion, you make it easier to banter. So some people are saying like, don't really eat it often, only eat it sometimes. Like those things they're good, they're opinions, or they're not opinions so much as they are actions. So if you get more specific in your opinion, so saying something like, it'll give you a heart attack, then you can use that to create word associations. So you'd say something like, bring your defibrillator or something to that extent. So when you get more specific, you make it easier to create associations that you can use as funny, witty lines. So as you know, like I said, McDonald's is poison. Poison gave me something to work with
Mhm.
for word associations. So I said skull and crossbones, hazmat suit, etc. Okay. So
I like that.
that's opinions. That's the bit on opinions. Now let's talk about secret banter ingredient number 2, observations. So you need to be able to make an observation before you can make these correlations. So this means you really need to be aware of your surroundings. So instead of driving down the street and you're just driving down the street, you're taking in everything on the street and pulling meaning from what you're seeing. Okay, this house that's got a white picket fence. What does that say about those people? This house has a bunch of junk on the lawn. What does that say about those people? You're observing and you're making um
Observations.
yourself aware of
Right.
what you know about those things. So I'll get to why that's important. Without observing, you won't be able to get to this ping pong match of words that's going to set the mood for the fun. So, anyone who's seen the Banter Guide may have seen this. This is Charlie. It's a Tinder profile that has basically nothing in it and very little to work with to the untrained eye. But to the trained eye, who's very keen in observations, they're going to take tons away from this because they're going to pull meaning from what they're seeing. They're not just seeing a chick standing there half smiling for a picture. They're seeing everything. So we're going to point out some of those observations. Okay. So her clothing and her beanie shows that she's laid back and has that tomboy edge.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Charlie. That's not a typical girl's name. What does that mean? What does that say about her family? Why did they name her Charlie? Ask yourself, I'll get to that. She's not showing her teeth. She's half smiling. Does she not like her smile? She's an English grad, but yet has a typo after grad with just having a comma. What does that say? Does that say that she just threw together this Tinder profile fast? Does that mean she's not a good student? She chose a black and white photo rather than a regular photo. Does that mean she's artsy? Does that mean maybe she didn't like the way she looked with the color on? Number 6, she must be very new at journalism because she's only 21 years old. So what does that say about her career? Then I look even further. She's got nail polish on and she's got lipstick on. So despite this tomboy image she's presenting, she definitely still cares about her looks. It's not a selfie. Look for what isn't there, and so on. So this is how I want you guys to start looking at profiles and the world around you, but starting with profiles so that's not too overwhelming. So let's use this observation that her clothing and beanie shows she's laid back and has a tomboy edge. Here's some observations in an opener. We're going to think to ourselves, does she enjoy watching or playing sports? Does she have brothers? Is she going to steal some of your hoodies? She might whip your butt at beer pong. I'm making basically all these assumptions based off of my observations. We're always taught to avoid making assumptions because you guys may have heard that phrase, assume and you'll make an ass out of you and me. But if you do assume here in banter, you have a gateway into conversation. So making assumptions is a good thing. Assumptions are pretty much your best friend when it comes to banter. So what other questions can you think of? Is anyone, I don't know if Marnie went on mute or is on, I think she's disappeared.
In bantering, assumptions and judgments seem to work the best.
What was that?
So 21 is average age for a journalist. It's basically the same things that you wrote.
Okay. So here's
Fan
a line.
of Maya Angelou. Assumptions pass some ass. I don't get that one.
Maybe want to hang off with the.
Congrats to your Oscar. Did you get it for an article you wrote? Oh, that's funny. She likes imported beer. Large bag and stocking cap going to rob someplace she couldn't afford.
Yes, thank you. So all that person just did there was make an observation and then use what he saw in that observation and to make an assumption to then make a fun, playful line or comment. So that's how you want to start thinking. And we are taught to not think this way. And so that's why it's so hard for everyone to banter, because we're afraid to say those things. But those are the things, if you open simply with that line and every other guy has said, hey, how are you? How was your weekend? She's going to reply to that.
I like that she couldn't afford a color photo. You couldn't afford a color photo? That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. So here's an opener idea. I have that exact same outfit, but it looks so much better on you than it does on me. So what you're doing is you're implying that she's dressed like a guy. You're implying that. You're not running away from it, and you're going to own it, and you're going to bust him on her just a little bit, but you won't continue busting for the rest of the conversation. You do that to get her to respond. It's a little bit like negging, but it's not negging. There's no ill intent. There's no need to make her feel bad, but you're busting her balls just a little bit with that opener. They don't always have to be busting them, but in that one, that does. And actually someone who read the guide uses this as an opener all the time for girls just wearing actually sexy outfits. So if a girl's wearing a short little mini dress, this is funny. Where we get into the opposite. So when you make comments that are the opposite. So he says to girls when they're dressed like in a hot dress or whatever, he says he has that exact same outfit, but it looks so much better on her. So you don't have to just say it because it's literal and she's dressed like a dude. You can also say it in opposite and be even more playful with it. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where lessons with me comes in handy, because after you say that line, you drop in that line. I don't recommend people using pre-written lines, but if you do decide to use that line, what happens is you go in with this big opener, you make her laugh, and then all of a sudden she responds and you're like, now what? That's where lessons with me come in very handy. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to get into that quite yet or here in this session.
Well, one person just wrote, what's up with the beanie? So that's more of an insulting line, right? Rather than.
Yeah, there's nothing fun or clever about that. All they did was make the observation. They didn't take it a step further. So you can have these observations, but if you don't take it a step further, then it's just a boring observation. It's the same idea as just saying you don't like McDonald's. Mm-hmm. So you need to take it one step further and add in something clever, which is where the word associations will come in. So someone had said, she's got the beanie in the bag, she's about to rob a bank. He made an association. So you have your observation, but it doesn't totally work without making your associations to make it fun and clever. Mm-hmm. So I always say there's like a ellipses that people need to fill in. So when I was in, I went to advertising school for copywriting stuff, which is advertising. And the guy who owned the school always said, people need to have an aha moment to feel satisfaction from having something playful said to them. This was stuff we talked about for writing funny commercials, but you basically leave a gap. And this gets tricky to explain, but you make a statement or I'm sorry, you have your statement and then you say something about robbing a bank, you let her fill in the gap, fill in that ellipses and have that aha moment of what you're actually saying. So what you're actually saying is she's dressed like a bank robber, but you let her fill that in. So you're not being so literal. Banter involves being a little bit
You want her to think for a second,
above.
like, what?
Yeah. And like, if you think about when you're watching a comedian and they tell a joke and then an audience maybe takes a second to laugh, it's because they're filling in the dots of what they're actually saying. So I know it's a little bit confusing, but that's why the straight up "what's with the beanie" doesn't work, because there's no surprise there. There's nothing clever. There's nothing interesting. You're literally just stating an observation that's like, yeah, so what? I need a little bit more. So let's go to the next slide. Is that her name is a typical girl's name? That's an observation. Most guys would have just gone through that profile and been like, okay, I'm not even looking at her name. I don't care what her name is. Does she have good tits? I'm going to write her, hi, how are you? That's not how you want to look at profiles. You want to look at all these details. So I observed, okay, Charlie, that's not an original name. Or I'm sorry, that's not a typical name. So some questions. And these aren't things you don't need to ask. These are just things to get your brain going to be able to develop openers. Is she named after someone? Does it get annoying when people assume she must be a boy before they meet her? Is that her real name? Has she ever dated a guy with the same name? All you're doing is you're scanning your brain for what you know about a woman named Charlie, or what you associate with a woman named Charlie. So I don't know if people watching want to fill in what they can come up with. Oops. For questions or
That was funny.
observations.
Okay. I'm trying to think of one. I need to practice for these as well. Honestly, Charlie's Angels comes to mind for me. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
You had me worried about your name because I thought I may be dating a guy.
Yeah, so that's close. That's close. You just need to fine tune the presentation of a line like that, which I will get to in a
Would you and Charlie
slide.
Sheen get along? Angels, last name Townsend. You said don't fill in the blank. So what were you thinking? Hi Charlie, it's going to be hard competing with lesbians for you.
That's actually really funny. That's something that I think that's funny. It wouldn't work on every girl, but I do think it's funny.
My name is Carlos. I guess your parents took the easy road of predicting what sex you were going to be. Do you play football?
Do you go by, is Charles your formal name?
That's funny.
So it's like you're just experimenting with where you have to, and this is why I recommend going over to the notes on your phone, and you can even go to a piece of paper, but writing all these things out, starting to have a playful brainstorm. Yes, it's going to take more work, but yes, you're going to start getting responses. So putting in this extra time will pay off, because you're going to start getting dates.
Right. Charlie horse, does it hurt?
That's cute. Okay, so oops.
These are all good. They're better than hi, how are you?
They are. So here's an opener idea. Like I just said something about, Charles, like your full name or something, but here on the slide, I've got an opener idea. If we ever get married, our wedding invitations will scare so many old people. So what I'm doing there is I'm leaving a blank and I'm letting her fill in what I mean by that, which is our old people are going to think I'm marrying a man.
Right.
So you're allowing the opportunity for her to fill in those dots and have that aha moment. So I don't say straight up literal, if we ever get married, Charlie's going to scare my grandparents because they're going to think I'm marrying a dude.
Right.
That's too straight. You want to leave a gap. You want to leave that space where they can go, oh, okay, I see what he's saying. That's cute. That's funny. Or he's a homophobe and I don't like him. Either one. But why does this work so well? Because you're saying something that no one has ever said before to her, and you're initiating that little primal brain thing. Like, oh, okay, this guy's different. No one has said that to me before. He's worth at least responding to begin with. We'll see where it goes. But if you're going to go with, hey, how are you? You're never going to get the responses. So secret banter ingredient number 3, correlations, which we've been talking about somewhat with the associations. Correlations are all relatively connected. So correlations plus opinions plus word associations equals wit. So if you go back to the example that we just did, you're going to see I correlated her name with being a man. I added an opinion about like, it may not be the best look for me. And then I did some word associations with marriage. So it's a little like this perfect little combination of all three that get you the perfect line. You don't need all three all the time. Like you don't have to always have an opinion in there, but those things will help feed the ability to come up with a line. Okay. So let's say, for example, you see in a girl's profile that she says that she loves the Titanic, but hates online dating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask myself, what do I know about the Titanic? How can I correlate these things together? This is really how you're going to make these fun, witty observations in opener lines. So, okay, I see in her profile, she loves the Titanic. She hates online dating. I'm going to use what I know about the Titanic, which it didn't go well. Neither has her online dating, apparently. So I'm using what I know. The Titanic sunk. Maybe her online dating is sunk. So I'm going to make word associations with the Titanic. It sunk. It didn't go well. It hit an iceberg. Now I'm going to put that together in a sentence for an opener. So I'd say something like, so how many dating icebergs have you hit so far? So all I'm doing is I'm using what she gave me in her profile, combining them together and presenting it in a way that is clever. So you'll realize you can't just go open someone's profile and just say whatever. You actually have to see what's in her profile. Mm-hmm. How can I combine this together to say something unique? So this is the correlation method that I recommend for openers. We were talking about Charlie's profile, which is using observations, but here is more of the structure that I like to present for openers, which is this this correlation technique. So all I did was I correlated the Titanic with her hating online dating. Then I added in word associations and I came up with a clever line. So what other sentences can everyone think of?
So people wrote, they're both a disaster waiting to happen. Did
Yes.
your online dating experience hit an iceberg? Is disaster your best side? Does the band play until the end?
Oh, that's
dating
funny.
Online would have saved the Titanic if you were captain. Let me draw her like one of those French girls. That's funny. Yeah, these are good.
So see how much, so all you really, so it's so simple. It's almost like maddeningly simple. All you have to do is ask yourself, what do I know about the items in her profile? Mm-hmm. All these guys are doing right now in the comment box are saying what they know about the Titanic. That's all they're doing. They're using information that already exists. Like I said earlier in one of the slides, is that all this stuff is already in you. It's just whether or not you're accessing it. Yeah. So that was a perfect example. Everyone knows something about something, so they can use that to feed their openers. Why does this work so well? Because it is unique and clever. And again, no one else is saying it. So secret banter ingredient number 3 is the conversation tree. I don't know if I'm going like way long, but I think we're kind of getting.
No, I think we're on good time. We're good time.
Okay. So this conversation tree sounds like it would be used in kindergarten and it sounds juvenile, but it's really helpful in demonstrating that you can talk really about anything, or that conversation really can go anywhere. So many guys will say, I'm afraid that we're just going to sit there in silence and I won't have anything to add. I'll have nothing to say. This conversation tree is just to show you, well, one, it's to show you, but 2, it's to use as a tool. But I really like it to show you as proof that you really can take conversation anywhere. It's like this tree eventually builds an entire forest. So we'll just get to an example of why and what I'm talking about. So for the conversation tree, it's a visual tool. So the trunk of the tree is horses. Now, I'm not super into horses. I don't really know much about horses. I wouldn't really know what to talk about horses, but I'm going to fill in the branches with stuff that I know about horses or that I can associate with horses. So, cowboys, okay, westerns, hats, guns, cow herding, Brokeback Mountain, gay joke. So, so the trunk of the tree is horses, off of the branch is cowboys. Then we fill in the leaves with what we can say about cowboys. So you can talk about westerns, you can talk about hats, you can talk about guns, cow herding, Brokeback Mountain. It shows you that you don't need to necessarily talk just about the topic at hand. You can take the conversation anywhere. And this, again, is a visualization tool so that you have the confidence to know that it's within you. All the stuff, you've got places to go in conversation. It's not going to just end because she brought up how much she loves horseback riding and you don't love it. You'd be like, oh, I don't ride horses, but I grew up watching westerns. And then all of a sudden you're talking about your favorite movies. So it's just to show you how you can connect one topic that you don't know much about to a place where conversation can grow. And then if you almost visualize it like, a seed falls from the tree, plants another tree, and then you do the process all over again, all of a sudden you've got a forest full of conversation trees. Why does this work so well? Because it's a great demonstration that you've got everything that you need inside. So, okay, so let's practice this. We're going to go back to bowling.
Also, that even
as
if you
the
don't
tree.
know specifically about what's being talked about, you have many different associations and many different connections to things you can talk about that still happen to create a connection between you and somebody else.
Absolutely. And so even if a girl brings up something that you have no concept about, like makeup, use what you know, lean on yourself. And so guys will associate makeup with the Kardashians. So you could say something like, now, do you do like Kardashian kind of makeup? Or, something about everything. So on my tree it would be makeup. And then one branch would be the Kardashians. Then off of that tree would be OJ Simpson, or I'm sorry, off of that branch would be in the leaves, OJ Simpson,
Like big butts.
big butts, Kanye West, music, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
there's always somewhere to go. So we're going to practice this tree with bowling. So what would you guys fill in? I want you guys to drop a comment in the chat of what you would fill in on your tree if the trunk of the tree was bowling. What would you put on the branches? Like, I know for me, I would put
I would put like bowling pins, bowling shoes.
I would put
Then I would
beer,
think like beer, yeah, pool tables, smoky halls,
the Big Lebowski.
yeah. Oh, that's good. So beer frame, turkey, bowling for Columbine, shoes that anyone can wear. Yeah, stinky, disgusting shoes. 3 holes, a sport.
Three
Hot
holes is my
dogs,
favorite.
stale pretzels. Yeah, these are all
Yeah.
good things, great things.
There's really anywhere to go in conversation. It's just whether or not you're willing to access it. So, okay. So secret banter ingredient number 4, and this is the one that I think most guys really are always curious about and have the hardest time with, is teasing. So what is teasing? So teasing is the ultimate way to build sexual tension. It doesn't need to be mean. It's great. I'll get to this in a second. So how do you successfully tease? As we've discussed, you need to have opinions to be able to tease. If she's a stranger, tease a neutral target instead. So rather than teasing her, tease the environment. And I don't know if this example comes up here. I can't remember. But let's pretend you're at an airport and you want to tease or be playful. You're sitting at the gate that's going to Omaha, Nebraska, and next door people are going to the Caribbean. You could tease about the location. You're not teasing her, you're teasing the location. You also tease to the extreme. It's so extreme that it can't be true. So for example, so I do have this. So at the airport gate, there's 10 people for your flight. You could tease about the location of where you're headed. No one wants to go to Nebraska, apparently.
Mhm.
So let's say, for example, you notice a woman who works at a library. We're talking teasing. You want to do a quick brain scan of what does working at a library involve. You don't want to tease someone directly and be like, only losers work at the library. So you want to do a brain scan. What are all the associations I can make with librarians or libraries? Filing. Okay, you need to know the alphabet. So a tease would be, this example that I'm giving you guys, I want to give you a little more context than what's on the screen. I worked with a guy a long time ago who was interested in a woman who had who was getting her master's degree. She was very smart. She's getting her master's degree in business. And while she was getting her master's degree, she was working at the library on campus. He wanted to tease her about her job at the library, but he just said something like, literally like, who would work at the library? Only losers work at libraries, something to that extent. It wasn't as harsh as the word loser, but it was something like that. And she did not respond well to it whatsoever. Her job included filing. So we worked together to come up with a tease that would have worked. And so we said, in regards to her filing, but you need to know the alphabet to do that. Now, the reason this tease works is because she clearly knows the alphabet. She's getting her master's degree at a really good university. So you're teasing to an extreme that cannot be true. So you always want to go somewhere, not always, but a lot of the time, teasing works when you take it somewhere where it absolutely cannot offend, because there's no way that she would never know the alphabet. Now, if she was slow or a little bit on the, dim-witted side, you may not say that to her. So you have to take into context what's an extreme for one person versus what's an extreme for another person. So, okay. So yeah, so they're PhD. Let's talk about another example for a tease. So let's say you notice a woman who says that she is a dog mom. Now, Marnie just said this on the podcast. Mm-hmm. She says she's a dog mom. Now you have to have an opinion. What do I think about this? It's kind of a silly thing to actually say you're a dog mom. So do a brain scan about moms. What do moms do? What do you think about moms? What do you know about moms? Just like we did for the Titanic. So we know moms clean, they breastfeed. So here I'm going to take it to the extreme. And I'm going to say to her as a tease, did you breastfeed or
I
bottle?
love this one. I think it's so funny.
Because it's so ridiculous.
It's so hilarious, though.
So this is the teasing to the extreme. There's no way she breastfed her dog. You're not going to offend her because she did not breastfeed her dog. So this is the technique I want you guys to start working on when it comes to teasing. But if we look at this again, it involves word associations. So always comes back to word associations and correlations.
What breed is the dad? See, that's a funny one too.
That's great. Yes. So it's like when I see these lines come from guys, like I never thought of that line. I'm almost reminded not to say that these guys aren't talented, but it's so easy. It's actually so much easier than you ever would imagine to have fun, playful teases if you use all these word associations in your opinions. It's really that simple. So why does this work so well? I just explained it. So I'm curious what everyone's takeaway from the teasing portion so far would be.
I honestly love that breastfeeding one. I think it's hilarious. Yeah, but the thing is that you do this more, these things come more naturally to you. Like, I mean, I'm naturally witty, so I don't have to think about it and draw trees, but
You are.
No, but I feel like I could
artist.
fine tune my skill, because I don't think about these things. I can banter, I think, on an intermediate level, but like these are really funny things to say. And like, as you just said, it comes from within you. Everybody has this inner banter within them. Okay, so people said the word association thing sounds like mind mapping for ads, associations, correlation, opinion, and associations. Practice, it's not so hard. It's definitely not. Correlating is a big thing, and having the opinions. My education in forestry is going to come in handy. at last. Um, they're called our babies. You have to pay attention to opportunities. They are everywhere. Free thinking associations from observations. Let them fill in the ellipses.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is really good.
Yeah.
I when it's not so obvious, that was a big thing for me as like a takeaway that sometimes people have to like fill it in as well, and then they're like, oh, you're smarter than me, or you're seeing something different than the way that I see it. So already it kind of puts you on a pedestal, especially if you make like a really good and smart association that people wouldn't have thought of typically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I love everyone's takeaways there, exactly what I want them to be. So here's what we covered today. The thing is, banter is there's so much to it. You think, oh, it's just chat, it's just conversation, but it's really, really complex. And so I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but here's what we covered today to get you guys in a great position to start getting women to talk to you and to respond to you and stop ghosting you. So here's what we covered again, like I said, how to talk to women, spark attraction within seconds, even if you're not her type. If a guy said one of those lines to me, like that breastfeeding line, if a guy said that to me and he was 4 inches shorter than me, I'd be like, who's
Who
this
is he?
guy?
Yeah.
Who is this guy? And I'd want to talk and know more. We also covered the 3 biggest banter killers, the biggest mistakes guys are making when they're bantering with women. We covered the 4 essential mindsets that help you get out of your own way. We covered the 4 secret banter ingredients that you must include to create irresistible attraction. Those ingredients, without those, it's not banter. So, Marnie, this was my spiel. This was my
It was excellent. You did
professorship.
a fantastic job. I'm really proud of you. I
Thank
think it's
you.
amazing.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but you still have to
surprised
move the
how
slide so
good I
that I know
did.
exactly what I need to say.
Oh,
Or else
it's true.
I don't know what to do. But wait, there is more.
Aha.
If you feel this honestly will help you and was well worth the price of your ticket, drop a 1 in the chat. All right. Me to take pictures. Okay. Perfect. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Love it.
All right,
Love
good.
it, guys. If a friend asked about this class, what is one sentence you would use to describe it? Drop a comment into the chat. I would describe it as insightful. And I'm kicking myself because it's so obvious. Like, why would I not be doing this all the time? And I think a lot of guys before were saying, oh, I'm going to need a lot of practice. You are going to need practice, but you're going to get better at this. Okay, perfect. What we've shown you is the blueprint for the banter blueprint. Oh, good. Hold on. Hold on. I just want to take a picture. 1 second. Ah! Hold on. Going too fast. Saying too many good things. What we've shown you is the banter blueprint, which was excellent. It was basically the beginning portion of exactly how to banter. And you might have questions. So you have 2 options. Number 1, do it yourself with the information that we shared, that Kristen shared on this amazing masterclass. Number 2, brand new opportunity. There is a brand new opportunity for you. Kristen is offering a special bonus. If you are looking to improve your banter skills and want to learn more about working with her, she is offering a free 15-minute call for a limited time. First come, first served. Just go to winggirlmethod.com/Kristen.
That's me.
That is you.
That is me. And that is the
Perfect.
last. Oh, wait, no, it's not. It's not the last slide.
Okay. Our invitation. If you'd like accountability, coaching, and support from our Wing Girl team to move your dating life forward, you can apply for our new online dating coaching program. Keep in mind, we are only taking on 10 guys at this time, and this will normally cost $5,000. If you act now, you can get it at almost 80% off. winggirlmethod.com/apply. Okay, if you want to take advantage of Kristen's special offer, go to winggirlmethod.com/Kristen. If you want to get early access to the slides and when the replay is live, go to winggirlmethod.com/banter bonus. The replay will not be up there just yet, because obviously it is still going on right now. But within 24 hours, it should be up there. I said tomorrow I'm probably going to send it out at 3 p.m. Pacific. If you'd like accountability, coaching, and support from the Wing Girl team to move your dating life forward, almost 80%, go to winggirlmethod.com/apply. And if you have questions for Kristen, she's going to stick around for a bit. Please drop them in the chat now. And maybe even we can have some of you come on and use your voices. So how can banter get you out of the friend zone or spark lost attraction?
It can. You know, this isn't an exact
Definitely can.
science. So, you know, I'm not going to say it will every single time, but it will certainly up your chances. So, a personal story. I matched with this guy on Tinder, and I don't usually use Tinder. And this was probably like a year and a half ago or something. He was so bad at banter. And I normally, like, I don't have in my profile that I'm a banter coach or that I do this. So guys don't know what they're up against. So this guy we matched, he was so bad at banter that I was like honest with him. And I go, I'm sorry, I normally don't do this, but you're really adorable and you're really nice, but you are so bad at this. And I feel like I need to just help you. I was expecting him to be like, fuck you to think you are, bitch, blah, blah. Like I thought he was really going to like get very angry. He listened to everything I said. We did like a banter session basically
Oh, awesome.
through Tinder. And then I ended up giving him my number just to keep in touch as friends. So I talked about him on the show.
Hmm.
I started noticing, so we followed each other on Instagram. I started noticing he had like really funny captions and was like, all of his Instagram stories were really clever. And I totally friend zoned him. So I was like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm desperate, or maybe I actually am just like really enjoying his, like, he was suddenly this kind of fun, clever guy who was not the guy I matched with. So I was like, I want to text him, but now I'm kind of nervous because I actually think I kind of have a crush on him. So I took about 2 weeks to actually write to him. So I texted him, we started bantering. He was like killing it at he was killing it at banter. And I was kind of getting like excited, like, ooh, maybe we could go on a date, like, you know, whatever. So
Hmm.
anyway, he then said, well, me and my girlfriend, blah, 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 blah,
Mm.
blah. So he was taken. So now he's in a relationship. However, what I will say is that I genuinely was like, that guy was in the friend zone for about a year. And there was something about the quality that changed about his presentation that
Hmm.
turned me on, so to speak. And I hit him up to go on a date. Turned out he has a girlfriend.
Well,
I
that's the
actually
wonderful
met
thing
his
about
girlfriend.
women. Like, just because you feel one way to us on one day doesn't mean you're going to feel that way to us forever. If you alter things, you grow, you learn, you expand, practice everything that Kristen is teaching during this class and what she'll teach afterwards. And if you have a phone call with her, it can shift and change. We don't see you the same way anymore. And I've talked about this before where men's faces literally shift in front of my face. Like a
Right.
man who I see across the room approaching me, as soon as he opens his mouth, his face can shift for the better or for the worse. And same thing happens with somebody that we once saw as a friend. You've seen it in movies a million times, like where, a guy and a girl are friends in high school. She has no attraction to him whatsoever because he's, kind of pleasing her and being dorky. And he comes back 4 years later after being in college, and he's grown confidence and a personality, and she's obsessed with him. So
Yeah.
the lucky thing for you guys is women can change their opinions as long as you change and alter something about you for the better,
Yes.
obviously.
Yes, and he had changed and he had altered, and it sparked my interest where I went and I looked him up again. Like I Googled him and I rewatched because he's an actor. So I like rewatched his reel and I was like, he's really good. And it just something was different. Then when we were having this exchange, when I wrote to him, oh, I'm sorry, but I wanted to say this before. He had kept in touch with me. We've kept in touch over the year and a half, but it all had been friendly, kind of just
Right.
like a little thing here and there, just like, hey, how are you? And then once he started shifting the way he was presenting himself, I started to take notice.
Mhm.
And so yes, it is possible to go from the friend zone with banter. Is it going to happen
Yeah.
every time? No, but is it possible? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is a good question. How do you transition from banter to normal conversation, and at what point? You touched on this in the beginning. I'm not sure if the person asking the question has missed this, but
Yeah.
can you speak to that again?
Yes. So it's always when you're first starting to date, you're always going to get to the point to normal conversation, but you really won't get to a good conversation without beginning with the banter. So I know the question is, how do you transition between banter into normal conversation? I want him to flip the way he's thinking about it, like normal conversation, because when you go to normal conversation mode, you go to boring mode. So when you're first meeting somebody, you should never switch out of banter. You should just tone down the banter. So when I said the conversation should look like a heart monitor, that is normal conversation. Banter is normal conversation. So up here on your heart monitor, you're being playful about the breastfeeding thing. Now we come down. So we hit that high moment. We made a comment. Did she breastfeed or bottle? Then we come down because we're not just going to stay at this fun, jokey place the whole time. It's going to get annoying. So then we're going to talk about her dog. So now
Yeah,
we're going to be
seriously, tell me about your dog. I want to hear about this
right.
baby of yours.
Right. So now we're in normal conversation mode. Then we jolt back up because she brings up the fact that, she loves the movie Titanic, but dating isn't gone well. So then all of a sudden you make your joke there. And then you go back into normal conversation because then she talks about those dating icebergs she's hit. So she went out with this guy and it was just such a blah, blah, blah. So you're always going to be in normal conversation and banter at the same time until, you're now on date like 6 or 7 and you've really established a rapport and you don't really need it anymore. You're going to always be bantering and be in normal conversation.
Yeah, I don't think that I ever turn my banter off. I mean, unless I'm getting into even if I'm in a really serious conversation, I will always throw in some banter to lighten the mood. Like
Right.
That's also just the way that I am. It may not be as much as if I'm dating somebody. I want to have like a lighter, more fun conversation. But I think that the fact that you said banter is normal conversation, that really helps for a lot of people because it should be part of your normal conversation because it makes the world more fun. It's
right. But
playful, it's fun,
also,
it's engaging.
right. But also, if you think about this, like just being in normal conversation versus banter, you're going to tone down your not your fun, you're going to tone down your essence, right? So you can eventually, yes, of course, get to normal conversation when you're on the phone or, she calls, she's like, oh, I'm running to the store. Do you need anything? That's normal conversation, once you've been dating for a while, but keep your mind set on banter, normal conversation banter, so that you can keep up your essence. Because again, you'll go very flat if you don't.
Yeah. I really advise that when you do get the replay to go back and just watch each section because now that you know how they all connect, I think it'll make it a better viewing for you to understand how to do all the things that Kristen's talking about and then actually practice when Kristen says, like, what are the associations? Like, stop, pause, make your own associations, make your own lists. I love that you said before when you're reading somebody's profile, like pull up your notes and write down the associations, do the association tree. Like the thing that's lovely about texting and messaging is you have time to get back to somebody. You don't need to be instant and immediate. And the more that you do it in written form, because I always say the best way to train something into your brain is by writing it down. Like that's how you get information into your head. It becomes real, tangible. It's there, not lofty and floaty ideas. So take everything that she said in this class and really, if you just practice what she said in this video, I guarantee that you'll be an amazing banterer, I would say within 30 days. And if you sign up for that call with Kristen, I think it could happen faster for you. Like I think honestly within the next week, you could become an amazing banterer and totally improve your skills online. How do we use banter in the corporate world compared to everyday life? Same way.
You do the same thing. The thing is, the key to banter is not putting things on pedestals and not being at different levels. The minute you're like, oh no, I'm in a corporate setting, then all of a sudden you're in your head. You're not able to actually be fun and be playful. You do have to have some sort of filter because you don't want to lose your job. But just tell yourself there's no difference between bantering with the waiter than there is bantering the chick that you think is hot versus bantering with the boss. They're all the same.
And that helps with pedestals and stuff like that. So like nobody's better. Nobody deserves banter more than somebody else. Everybody deserves to see how you work, how you think, and how you associate things. Like don't deprive people of that fun communication you could be giving to them. Kristen, I want to thank you. This was wonderful. I know we joked before about this being a moron class to help you
They were
get a little
not,
bit less
but
nervous, but honestly, this was a master class. You are a master at bantering. It, before you started doing this for your work, I always thought that banter would be a really hard thing to teach people and like to break down how to banter. And if you naturally didn't have it, it would be challenging for people to learn. But you have proven me wrong. I think you have perfectly laid out the foundation and the beginning steps for people to really hone an amazing skill that can be useful in every area of their life. So thank you for doing this masterclass. This was wonderful.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right, guys. Thank you so much for this. Next month, we have something wonderful as well. All of our master classes are wonderful, but we have a master class on, I believe it's how to cold approach a woman. Because I saw some guys were talking about that before in the chat space. Like, I'm afraid to cold approach. It freaks me out. We are going to knock all those fears away because we are going to teach you the exact steps for cold approaching. And I'm excited to have you on that. I hope you enjoyed this banter masterclass. I definitely enjoyed the banter masterclass. Again, if you want to have some time on the phone with the wonderful Kristen, go to winggirlmethod.com/Kristen. And yeah, I was going to do it at the end of our podcast. And we'll see you next week. No, we'll see you. We'll see you next month.
Never gone.
Yes, but thanks, guys. I am going to get off soon. I'm going to take some pictures.